Hi, I'm Carmen, and this is a Miscellaneous Vegan where I share a lot of R&R recipes and reviews. And today we're going to be making this braised tofu. I cut mine in squares, and this is not my recipe. It is Maangchi's recipe. If you haven't seen her YouTube video, I will link it below. She makes Korean cuisine. So I wanted to try this recipe because I like to use tofu in my dishes, and this is the way that she cut hers. But I cut mine in squares because I'm going to be using mine as well for my salads. But let's get into the recipe. I will leave her video below. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you like and subscribe for recipes and reviews in New York City and around the world. These are the ingredients you will need. You will need firm tofu or extra firm. You want it to be firm because the soft tofu, the silken, will break in the process of coating it. You need oil. I like to use avocado oil. You will need an onion. It could be red or yellow or white. Garlic and scallions. That's what you will need to cook your sauce. And now we're going to get the ingredients for the sauce, which you will need soy sauce. You will need sugar. And I'm running out, as you can see. Sesame seed oil. I don't really like using it, but the recipe calls for it. Salt and some hot pepper flakes, Korean flakes, any type of Asian flakes for the spice, and water. This is the water that I use when I'm cooking, when I'm making my smoothies, when I'm drinking, because I have yet to get the filter. I'm pushing my things back because now I'm going to give you the materials you will need to make this dish. So you will need a cutting board. You will need measuring spoons. The first one is 1 tablespoon, then 1 teaspoon, a knife, something to mix up and stir your tofu, and then something to drain your tofu. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil my tofu to remove the salt. To remove the water. If you haven't seen my previous video on making tofu, I will leave it linked above and below, because to remove the water, you can press it down, do all that shenanigans that people do. I don't like to do that. That's extra work for me, honestly, and I just want to start cooking. And based off of the other videos that I mentioned before from someone else's channel, he says to boil your tofu in salt water, so like that you can remove the excess water. So that's something with science. I'm not a science teacher, but here I'm washing it because they do rinse it, and then I'm gonna try to cut it into cubes. I always fail at this. I'm gonna do my best, but I cut it into cubes because it's better for my salad. I like it in that form. She cuts it in like these squares, as you saw in the beginning of the video, but I prefer it to be in cubes. I feel like it's more fuller. I can just pick it up with my fork. I do have chopsticks, but I don't know what happened to them. I only have one. But you see, I completely failed in cutting the cubes correctly. I most of the time get it like this, but I will perfect it. But here you see me cutting it smaller because I'm going to use half for dinner today and then half for my salad tomorrow. And I am currently fasting, and I just broke my fast with this kombucha. If you haven't seen those videos, I will link it below. But here we have the water ready to boil. Well, hot. And I already added the salt, so I'm going to go ahead and add my tofu. If you haven't seen that video, this is how I cook my tofu. I always boil it first because after learning this method, I find that the tofu does come out much more crunchier than pressing it with a heavy book, patting it dry 100 times. It's just like, it takes too much time to remove the tofu that way. The water that way, the excess water. So this is the best way for you to remove the excess water in your tofu, boil it in salt water. I promise you, this works very well for me. So now we're going to get into cutting the vegetables that we need for, the sauce. So the scallions you want to just cut the ends and then chop them up the way that you need to. You want to chop them up very thin. I like to clean the ends, and we're going to get into just chopping up all the vegetables. So the recipe calls for half a cup of onion, and this is a huge onion, so I only need about half of it. So what I do, because you're not supposed to store your onions in the fridge, it grows mold or bacteria. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it for another recipe tomorrow. And what I do is that I just chop up both of, well, the entire onion, and then use the parts that I need for the recipe. And then the other half, I put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. And that comes out very useful when I want to make my next recipe. It's already chopped up. I don't have to deal with the smell of the onions and crying. So that saves me time. So our tofu is ready, and as I mentioned in my last video, the reason I have the cold water is because of the hot steamy water that's going into the sink, and that's to just not to compromise the stainless steel. And this is my Extrema pan. You do not want to do what I just did with cold water. You want to do it with hot water because it will crack, it says. But here we have, make sure you watch that video. I will link it below, the unboxing and review of the Extrema pan. But here is the tofu. It is completely ready. So now we're going to just transfer it over to the counter, and we're just going to damp it dry with a whole bunch of paper towels. If you have a kitchen towel, you can use that. I prefer to use paper towels. And here you see me just, so trying trying to dry as much as I can, okay? I will get another paper towel and put it over while we go over to the pot. And now I'm going to add 3 to 4 tablespoons of the avocado oil. And this is how we're going to fry it. We're not going to dredge it with, the cornstarch. We're just going to take it right there from just damping it dry, patting it dry. And we're just going to place it all into the skillet. And then seeing how I have cut the tofu into cubes, you're just going to have to be mindful of turning it and trying to get all parts of the tofu, a little brown. Just do your best. I do what I can. I don't always catch every single side, but it's okay. It's still going to come out delicious. It's still going to come out crunchy. I promise you, like literally this right here, once it's done frying, you can eat it the way it comes out because you have soaked it and boiled it a little in salt water. Then you rinse it out. You don't rinse it out. You actually just pat it dry. So it has a little salt, added salt from the water. Right here, I'm just showing that as I'm cooking, my Amazon Whole Foods groceries has arrived. So while I'm cooking, things are happening. So I'm just going to put my groceries. And right here, I have to bend with my knees. I don't know if you're at that age now that you have to be careful how you bend forward because you might hurt your back. That's what happens when you get older. But let's get back to the cooking of this meal. And like I was mentioning, that the tofu is going to come out really delicious just without the sauce. Just it's gonna taste nice because it already has the salt and then it's being fried. Remember, this is not being air fried. Air fried, it kind of comes out like a little dry without any seasoning, so you have to add the flavor. But here it's gonna be really good. Here I have to add more avocado oil because the cast iron pan, as you know, is much larger, and the pan that Maangchi is using is much smaller, and it was like a stainless steel. So I needed to add some more avocado oil so that I can make sure that all parts of the tofu is being covered with oil. And now we're going to do our sauce. So here is where I'm going to recommend for you to just follow the recipe and then adjust. So she uses 1 tablespoon of, hot pepper flakes. Use whatever hot pepper flakes you have, Korean, whatever you got, okay? I use that chili flakes. I bought it from H Mart. And then she also adds 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. So I'm following the recipe as she did it in her video. 1 tablespoon of the chili flakes and 1 tablespoon of the soy sauce. So we don't need the tablespoon anymore. You could put it up, put all the other ingredients up. You know how I cook and clean at the same time. And now we're going to use the sugar. And she uses 1 teaspoon of sugar. And we add it to the mix. And then the next part is the salt. And she uses 1 teaspoon of salt. And in my opinion, that's for me and my taste buds, is too much salt. So I don't know. It depends on how you feel, what type of foods you eat, how you eat it, how seasons you eat it. I'm not sure. And then she adds 1/2 cup of water. So that is it. That's all you need to make the sauce. And I personally find that the 1 teaspoon of salt was too much. We'll get there, but this is it. This is how you make it. That's the sauce. You stir it up and it's ready to go. Just a disclaimer, be careful opening up your Mountain Valley bottles because you might cut yourself with the lid, with the cap, I mean. The same thing goes for the Saratoga. They can be hazardous to your skin. All right, moving on. So here the tofu is ready. At this point, I'm fine with how it looks. If you want to keep turning it around and making sure you get every single corner crispy and brown, that's your preference. But for me, it's ready. Now I'm going to just transfer it over to my Our Place 10-inch. What is it? Is it 10 inches, 8 inches? I don't know. It's not, this video is not sponsored, so it's the bowl that I love to use. And here it is. And then we're going to put some paper towels on it so that it can soak up some of the oil. This is optional. You can keep the oil if you like it nice and oily. It's not going to taste oily, honestly, because I'm cooking with avocado oil. And so it's up to you. But I like to do this when I'm cooking chicken for my son and when I'm frying anything for myself. Okay, so it just soaks up the oil. So now we're going to get our other pan. We're going to transfer it over to here and get the ingredients that we have to make the sauce. So this is the garlic. So remember, you need garlic. This is a bag of pureed garlic, and it has avocado oil. That's the reason it looks like that. And then I freeze it in a Ziploc bag, and it's just like much easier for me to just cook that way. I don't have to chop any garlic because I already have it in the freezer. If you want to know how I make this, I don't. Someone from my job does. She does it for me. But it's very simple. You just put your garlic in a food processor and add your avocado oil. And you're ready to go. So here I'm adding the onions, and I'm going to saute this for a little bit. And then I will add the scallions and let that saute for a little bit. And once it gets nice and caramelized, that is when you're going to add your sauce. So here we have it. The sauce is added, and it's supposed to reduce, right? And get a little bubblier and thicker, as you saw in the beginning of this video, and as if you will see when you watch her video. But I did what she did. I followed the recipe, and for me, it wasn't reducing. It was reducing, but it wasn't getting thick, as you see here. You see, like the water's already reducing. I'm losing the sauce and being left with just the scallions and the onions. But I go ahead and taste it, and for me, it was very salty. So I had to add more water. And then I try to add some cornstarch to thicken it up because it wasn't thickening up for me. And of course, I made a mess because I still have my cornstarch in its original packaging. And so it wasn't working. I needed to transfer my cornstarch and then make a little slurry of cornstarch liquid to add it to the sauce. And that is when it started to thicken up. And now, as you can see, the sauce is ready for the tofu. Now it's like the consistency that I wanted. It kind of looks like the video of Maangchi. So I'm getting my tofu now, and I will be pouring all of it into the sauce. And this is the fun part. Honestly, the tofu right now, before even adding it to the sauce, like I mentioned before, it tastes really good. Like you could just eat it that way, and I could just um add it to my salads. And I actually wish that I would have saved half of it for my salad, because this recipe, as you can see, looks delicious. It really does. And I feel like for my taste, I would have preferred the less salt. I would have used way less salt and maybe not even adding any, honestly, because um, the soy sauce already has salt, and I don't think I had the soy sauce that has like minimal salt. But for me, it was too salty, and it honestly was missing like something else. I don't know. But it was okay. It was a decent recipe. You guys should go ahead and try it. I'm transferring it to my Our Place bowl so it can just look a little bit prettier, and also for my thumbnail. But here I'm garnishing it with the leftover scallions, and then I'm going to put some roasted sesame seeds on it, and it does add a nice little flavor to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you know who Maangchi is, if you've tried her recipes. Let me know which ones you have tried and loved, because I will be making more of her recipes. I love eating Asian food and trying it in my house. So here you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. And always remember, sweeties, be real, not perfect. Bye. In some of my recipes, I don't eat the food. You see me making it, and I don't eat it in camera because this is what I like to do. I like to clean up. If I wasn't able to clean up as I go with this recipe, for some reason I couldn't clean at the same time as I was cooking. But I like to clean up my kitchen, put all the dishes up, and then make my plate. Here I'm making a side salad with my food, and I will show you a little clip.